Have you ever felt like you were carrying a secret so heavy it changed how the world saw you? That's what this story is about: hidden pain, unexpected connections, and the courage to be vulnerable. If this resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that touch the heart. Ellie Morgan stood at the office window, her reflection ghosting against the city lights below. She was 34, successful, and utterly alone. The quarterly reports lay forgotten on her desk as she pressed her palm against the cool glass. Another Friday night alone, she whispered to herself. Behind her, the door creaked open. She didn't need to turn to know it was Mark Holloway, the new project manager she'd hired 3 months ago. Single father. Perpetually late. Impossibly competent. Ms. Morgan? Sorry to interrupt. I just finished the Henderson proposal. She composed herself before turning. It's nearly 9, Mark. Shouldn't you be home with your daughter? Lily's at a sleepover, he said, setting the folder on her desk. First one since. He didn't finish the sentence. He never talked about his wife's death, but everyone knew. Small company, smaller gossip chain. Ellie noticed the dark circles under his eyes, the coffee stain on his shirt collar. She recognized exhaustion when she saw it. She lived it every day. Sit down, Mark. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Let's talk about your performance. Fear flickered across his face. Is there a problem? Quite the opposite. You've exceeded every expectation despite your complicated schedule. Relief softened his features. Thank you. That means a lot. Something about his genuine gratitude cracked something inside her. Maybe it was the late hour, or the empty weekend looming ahead, or the 3 glasses of wine at the client dinner earlier. Why does no one ever stay? The words tumbled out before she could catch them. Excuse me? Ellie laughed, the sound brittle. Sorry. Inappropriate. It's been a long week. Mark didn't leave. Instead, he leaned forward. Is everything okay, Ms. Morgan? Ellie, she corrected. And no, not really. Do you want to talk about it? She should have said no. She was his boss. There were boundaries. But loneliness has a gravity all its own. No one wants to date me, she whispered, echoing her earlier thought. They see the title, the office, the success, but not me. Mark was quiet for a long moment. I think people see what you show them. What's that supposed to mean? You're intimidating. Brilliant. Focused. But you keep people at arm's length. Ellie felt anger rise. You don't know me. You're right. I don't. He stood up. I should go. Wait. She didn't know why she stopped him. Why do you think that? About me keeping people away? Mark hesitated. Because I recognize it. After Sarah died, I built walls too. The comparison stung. I haven't lost anyone. Haven't you? The question hung in the air between them. Ellie felt exposed, vulnerable in a way she hadn't allowed herself to be in years. You don't understand, she said finally. She stood and walked back to the window. No one does. Then help me understand. Maybe it was his genuine tone. Maybe it was just time. But Ellie turned and made a decision. Everyone thinks I'm cold because I'm successful. That I chose career over connection. Her fingers moved to the bottom of her silk blouse. No one wants to date the Ice Queen CEO. Before she could second-guess herself, she lifted the hem of her shirt just enough to reveal the angry red scar that traversed her abdomen. Stage 3 ovarian cancer. 2 years ago. She lowered her shirt. I beat it, but it took everything. My fertility. My confidence. Parts of my body I didn't know I could lose. Her voice cracked. Dating becomes complicated when the first conversation has to include, "I can't have children" and "my body is a roadmap of survival." Mark's expression shifted from shock to something softer. Not pity, she couldn't have handled pity, but understanding. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "Don't be. I'm alive." She straightened her shoulders. But alive isn't the same. Something warm unfurled in his chest. Not just at the professional recognition, but at Ellie's understanding of what mattered to him. "Thank you," he said. "That's unusually accommodating." A smile tugged at her lips. "I can be accommodating when it matters." The trip changed everything. Lily was enchanted by the hotel, the city, and especially by Ellie, who appeared at their door the first evening with 3 tickets to a musical. "You didn't have to do this," Mark said as they watched Lily run ahead toward the theater entrance. "I know." Ellie's shoulder brushed against his as they walked. "I wanted to." Later, after Lily had fallen asleep surrounded by hotel pillows, Mark and Ellie sat on his suite's balcony, the Chicago skyline glittering before them. "Thank you," he said again. "Lily hasn't been this excited about anything in a long time. She's a remarkable child. You've done well with her." "I'm trying." He sighed. "Sometimes I feel like I'm failing her." "Why?" "She deserves 2 parents. A whole family." Ellie was quiet for a moment. "Family isn't always what we think it should be. Sometimes it's what we build from broken pieces." "Is that what you've done? Built something from the broken pieces?" She looked away. "I'm still figuring out what my pieces are." The vulnerability in her voice pulled at him. Without thinking, he reached for her hand. She let him take it, their fingers interlacing like it was the most natural thing in the world. "After Sarah died," he said softly, "I thought I'd never find connection again. That Lily and I would just exist. Survive. And now?" He looked at her, really looked at her. Not his boss. Not the poised CEO. Just Ellie, with all her strength and scars. "Now I'm not so sure." The air between them changed, charged with possibility. For a moment, Mark thought she might lean in, or he might. Instead, she squeezed his hand once and stood up. "We should get some rest. Big meeting tomorrow." "Right." He followed her to the door. "Good night, Ellie." She paused in the doorway, silhouetted against the hallway light. "Mark?" "Yes?" "I'm glad you're here. Both of you." After she left, Mark leaned against the closed door, heart racing with the realization that he was falling for his boss. It was complicated, inappropriate, and probably impossible. It was also the most alive he'd felt in years. The Chicago trip was a turning point. The Henderson account signed a 3-year contract. Lily couldn't stop talking about Ms. Ellie, who knew all about dinosaurs and let her order chocolate cake at lunch. And Mark and Ellie began a careful dance of professional boundaries and personal connection. Coffee became lunch. Work texts became evening conversations. When Lily got the lead in her school play, Ellie sat next to Mark, applauding louder than anyone. "People are talking," HR Director Janet warned Ellie over lunch. "About you and Mark." "There's nothing to talk about," Ellie insisted, even as her cheeks warmed. "We work well together." Janet raised an eyebrow. "You had Thanksgiving dinner with him and his daughter. He doesn't have family in the area." It was a gesture of goodwill. And the weekend hikes? The late-night office conversations? The fact that you smile now?" Ellie set down her fork. "Is it inappropriate? Be honest, Janet." "As my HR director and my friend." Janet softened. "The company doesn't prohibit relationships as long as they're disclosed. But as your friend? I'm worried you're setting yourself up for heartbreak." "Why?" "Because he's a single dad who lost his wife tragically, and you're Janet hesitated. I'm what? Damaged? Broken? The old insecurity flared. No. You're his boss. You hold power over his career. That complicates things. Ellie hadn't considered that. The thought that Mark might feel obligated or pressured in any way made her stomach turn. You're right, she said finally. I need to create some distance. Creating distance proved harder than Ellie expected. Especially when Mark appeared at her office door that afternoon, eyes bright with excitement. Lily got accepted to that science summer program. The one you recommended. His smile faltered when he saw her expression. Is everything okay? Fine. Just busy. She kept her voice professional, eyes on her computer screen. Congratulations to Lily. That's wonderful news. Mark stepped into her office, closing the door behind him. Did I do something wrong? No. Of course not. Then why won't you look at me? Ellie finally met his gaze. The concern there nearly broke her resolve. We need to maintain appropriate professional boundaries, Mark. I'm your boss. He stared at her. Where is this coming from? It's always been the case. I've just been lax in enforcing it. Lax. He repeated the word like it tasted bitter. Is that what you call the last few months? Laxity? I don't know what to call it, she admitted. But it needs to stop. Pain flashed across his face before his expression shuddered. I understand. Will that be all, Ms. Morgan? The formality stung exactly as he intended it to. Yes. Thank you. After he left, Ellie pressed her palms against her eyes, fighting tears. She'd done the right thing. The professional thing. So why did it feel like she'd just torn open her own wounds again? The next weeks were agonizing. Mark was unfailingly professional. He delivered excellent work. He attended meetings. He never mentioned Lily or invited Ellie to any more school events. The wall between them grew higher with each passing day. You're miserable, Janet observed after a particularly tense executive meeting where Mark had presented and then immediately excused himself. I'm fine. You're not. And neither is he. Ellie sighed. What would you have me do? Risk his career? Mine? I'd have you be honest. With yourself and with him. The opportunity for honesty came unexpectedly. A pipe burst in Mark's apartment building, forcing him and Lily to evacuate for several days. Ellie only learned about it when she overheard him on the phone, trying to find a pet-friendly hotel that could accommodate them and Lily's hamster. Before she could reconsider, she approached his desk. You can stay at my place, she offered. I have a spare room. And I don't mind hamsters. Mark looked up, surprised. That's not necessary. It's practical. I live 10 minutes from here. Close to Lily's school. He studied her face. Why are you offering? Because. She faltered, then straightened her shoulders. Because I care about you. Both of you. Professional boundaries don't change that. Something in his expression softened. Thank you. But I need to know this won't be awkward when we're back at work. I can't promise that, she said honestly. But I can promise you a safe place to stay. That night, Ellie watched as Lily explored her apartment, exclaiming over her book collection and the view from the balcony. Mark stood awkwardly in the kitchen, looking out of place among her minimalist decor. I don't cook much, Ellie admitted. We could order in. Or I could cook, he offered. If you don't mind. It helps Lily feel normal when things are disrupted. She gestured to the rarely used kitchen. Be my guest. Watching Mark and Lily move around her kitchen with practiced coordination, preparing a simple pasta dinner, Ellie felt a strange ache. This was what she'd walled herself off from. Not just romance, but connection. Family. The beautiful mess of shared lives. You look sad, Lily observed, appearing suddenly at Ellie's side. Is it because we're in your space? No, Ellie assured her quickly. I'm happy you're here. I was just thinking. About what? About how sometimes the things we're most afraid of are the things we need most. Lily nodded sagely. Like when I was scared to try out for the play, but Dad said I'd regret not trying more than failing. Your dad is a wise man. He likes you a lot, Lily whispered. He tries to hide it, but I can tell. Before Ellie could respond, Mark called them to dinner. The meal was simple but delicious, the conversation careful but warm. After Lily went to bed in the spare room, Mark and Ellie found themselves alone on the balcony, echoing their night in Chicago. Thank you for this, Mark said. You didn't have to help us. I wanted to. She took a deep breath. I've missed you. Both of you. He turned to look at her. Then why push us away? Because I was afraid. Of what? Of everything. She laughed softly. Of caring too much. Of you feeling obligated because I'm your boss. Of you realizing that I'm not what you need. Mark was quiet for a long moment. 2 years ago, he said finally, I thought my life was over when Sarah died. I was so lost in grief I could barely function. Lily was the only reason I got out of bed each morning. Ellie listened, heart aching for him. I never expected to feel anything for anyone again, he continued. I didn't want to. It felt like betrayal. And then you showed me your scar that night, and something shifted. I recognized your courage, your resilience. It woke something in me. Mark. Let me finish. Please. He took her hand. I'm not here because you're my boss. I'm not interested in you despite your scars. I'm here because you showed me that it's possible to survive the unimaginable and still be open to life. To joy. Tears filled her eyes. I don't know how to do this. Any of it. Neither do I, he admitted. But I'm willing to try if you are. What about work? The complications? We'll figure it out. Together. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not just the attractive single dad or the competent project manager, but a man who understood brokenness and chose to rebuild anyway. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, he said. But I'm not going anywhere. When he kissed her, gently and hesitantly, Ellie felt something long dormant bloom to life inside her chest. Not just desire, but hope. The possibility that her story wasn't over after all. The next morning brought reality crashing back. Mark and Ellie arrived at the office separately, professional masks firmly in place. But something had changed. They both knew it. We need to talk to HR, Ellie said during their hasty coffee meeting in the stairwell. Disclose, whatever this is. And what is this? Mark asked. She hesitated. I don't know yet. But it's something worth exploring. The meeting with Janet was awkward but necessary. Company policies were reviewed. New reporting structures were established to minimize conflicts of interest. Mark would report to the COO rather than directly to Ellie for performance reviews and compensation decisions. Are you sure about this? Janet asked Ellie after Mark left the room. It's complicated enough dating as a cancer survivor. Adding a workplace relationship with a widowed father. I'm not sure about anything, Ellie admitted. Except that for the first time since my diagnosis, I want more than just to survive. I want to live. Janet squeezed her hand. Then I'm happy for you. Just, be careful. All three of you. Being careful meant taking things slowly. Dinner dates while Lily stayed with friends. Weekend outings that grew to include Lily once they were certain this wasn't just a fleeting connection. Conversations about expectations, fears, and boundaries. I need you to understand something, Ellie told Mark one evening as they walked along the riverfront. My cancer has a 15% recurrence rate in the first 5 years. He took her hand. I'm listening. I'm only 2 years out. If you're looking for certainty. I buried my wife after what was supposed to be a routine appendectomy turned septic, he interrupted gently. I don't believe in certainty anymore. Then what do you believe in? He stopped walking, turning to face her. I believe in making the most of the time we have. In showing Lily that love is worth the risk, always. And in you, Ellie Morgan, with all your strength and scars and stubborn independence. She touched his face, this man who had somehow bypassed all her defenses. I believe in you too. In us. Their first real date as an acknowledged couple was to Lily's end-of-year science fair. They stood together as Lily presented her project on butterfly metamorphosis, her small voice confident as she explained how caterpillars completely dissolve inside their chrysalides before rebuilding themselves as something new. Did you know, Lily told the judges, that butterflies remember things they learned as caterpillars? Even though they're completely different, parts of who they were stay with them. Ellie felt Mark's arm slip around her waist as they listened. The metaphor wasn't lost on either of them. Later that night, after Lily was asleep at Mark's newly repaired apartment, Ellie sat on his couch, looking at the family photos that lined his walls. Sarah's face smiled from many of them, a beautiful woman with Lily's eyes and dimples. Does it bother you? Mark asked, noticing her gaze. The pictures? No, she said truthfully. She'll always be part of your lives. I wouldn't want to change that. He sat beside her, taking her hand. There's room for new pictures too. New memories. I'd like that. Their relationship wasn't without challenges. Ellie's quarterly cancer screenings brought waves of anxiety that threatened to drown them both. Mark sometimes withdrew into grief on Sarah's birthday or their anniversary. Lily tested boundaries, sometimes clinging to Ellie and other times rejecting her completely. 6 months after that first night on Ellie's balcony, Mark received a job offer from a competing firm. Better pay. More flexibility. No complications from dating the CEO. Are you going to take it? Ellie asked when he told her, her heart in her throat. I don't know, he admitted. It makes sense professionally. But I'm afraid it would change us. That you might see it as me pulling away. She took his hands in hers. Do you want the job? I want what's best for Lily. For us. Then take it, she said firmly. We're stronger than an org chart, Mark. He searched her face. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The night before he started his new job, Mark invited Ellie to dinner at his apartment. Lily was staying with her grandparents for the weekend, a rare occurrence that gave them precious privacy. I have something for you, he said after dinner, handing her a small wrapped box. Inside was a delicate silver key on a butterfly keychain. It's to our apartment, he explained. I know we've talked about taking things slowly, and that hasn't changed. But I want you to know you're welcome in our home anytime. That you belong with us. Ellie clutched the key, emotions threatening to overwhelm her. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm not going anywhere, Ellie. Not the new job, not the complications, nothing is going to change how I feel about you. She looked up at this man who had seen her scars, both physical and emotional, and chosen to stay anyway. Who had taught her that vulnerability wasn't weakness but the deepest kind of strength. I love you, she said for the first time. Both of you. His smile lit up his entire face. We love you too. Later that night, as they lay together in the quiet darkness, Ellie traced the lines of Mark's face with her fingertips. I used to think my life was defined by what cancer took from me, she whispered. I never imagined it would lead me to what I needed most. He kissed her palm. Which is the courage to be seen. Really seen. And loved anyway. 1 year to the day after Ellie had whispered, "No one wants to date me," in her darkened office, she stood in that same office packing her things into boxes. The company had been acquired by a larger firm. She'd negotiated an excellent exit package for herself and protections for her employees. "Ready for your next adventure?" Mark asked from the doorway, Lily beside him bouncing with excitement. Ellie looked around at the office that had once been her entire world. More than ready. Outside, the three of them walked hand in hand toward the future, not certain, not perfect, but together. Ellie's scars no longer felt like endings but beginnings. Mark's grief had softened into a bittersweet gratitude for both what he'd lost and what he'd found. And Lily skipped between them, a living reminder that family isn't always what we expect it to be. "Look, Dad. Ms. Ellie. A butterfly." Lily pointed to a monarch floating past on the summer breeze. They stopped to watch its fragile, determined journey, a creature transformed by struggle into something beautiful and entirely new. "How do you think it knows where it's going?" Lily wondered. Ellie squeezed Mark's hand and smiled at the child who had become so dear to her. "I think sometimes we just have to trust that we'll find our way home, even when the path isn't clear." "Like us?" Lily asked. "Exactly like us," Mark answered, drawing both of them close. "Exactly like us." If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories of hope, healing, and unexpected love. Remember that our deepest wounds don't define us, they merely mark the places where we've been tested and found the courage to begin again.